Welcome to Faith Under Fire from Family Life. I'm Greg Gillespie. And on this National Day of Prayer, we're called to pray for the nation. Today I have the privilege of introducing you to Mark Burrell, Pennsylvania native who now works for the corporate world in the Cincinnati area. But he has written a book about what America needs to do next, comparing Scripture and the Declaration of Independence.
The root cause issue in America today is that we have a significant number of our fellow citizens that have rejected our national founding covenant, which is the Declaration of Independence, which is part of what we learn in the Bible about how to govern justly. First off, the thing we need to start with is to recommit to our national covenant.
What sparked your interest in exploring this angle on these big issues?
The conundrum for me was the American founding biblically justifiable? And so that started me on a journey about 30 years ago. Having grown up in the Philadelphia area, I was always taught that we were a Christian nation. And so I just decided I needed to answer that question for myself. I read through the Bible looking for verses that had to do with liberty, justice, rights, and nation building and all that. And I was flabbergasted, Greg, at all the information I found. And as I started to arrange it, what I realized is that Christians have a citizenship duty in the communities and nations where they live to help establish liberty and justice for all. That was the big conclusion I had on this journey.
Why do we need to rediscover it?
What is the biblical template or guidance for how to take a nation that once honored God but has gone, wayward? What's the process to restore that wayward nation back to being a God-honoring nation where God promises He will bless us and heal our land? And the answer we find in the Old Testament by looking through at kings that were good kings, and there were not too many of them. If you know your Old Testament, Greg, most of them were not too good. But you had some good kings like Solomon, King Josiah, who was reigning in the 7th century BC, and they rediscovered the book of the law and read it, and they realized they were not following it. And also Nehemiah, who came back and rebuilt the wall. What did all these rulers do? They all recommitted. If you read the text, they read the covenant aloud, and the people recommitted and said, we're in, and God blessed their reign.
One of the important things to do with Scripture is build a bridge from back then to now. Dan, you looked at Bible times. What does it say about our times? What do we do next in modern-day USA?
If we want to turn America around, it's not going to be through working harder, through political action, trying to get the right policies, or trying to get progressives to govern versus the Constitution. It's holding up our national founding covenant and saying, this is who we are as Americans. The moral law, the law of nature and of nature's God, that's our reference for all legitimate rights and lawmaking. These are the things that we've got to get back to. We have an identity crisis. Where is our identity described? It's in the Declaration. So what I'm actually hoping to do, Greg, is to start a national conversation about that. We would get to a point where we are recommitting. Unless we do that, God will not heal our land. And I get that directly from the Bible.
Is that something that can unite folks all across the political spectrum?
Well, it certainly won't unite a lot of the far left. But remember that when America was founded in 1776, when this document was originally signed, people argue, they debate, was it 50-50? Most likely it was only between 30 and 50% of the colonials at that time favored independence. So it does not have to be 100%. It wasn't at our founding. It will never be 100% in America, especially given how diverse we are. I think things are so far beyond our ability to impact. I think most people would agree we need God's help to help turn things around.
That commitment, that prayer seeking God's blessing, I'm sure that leads us to action steps that you might recommend.
So there's an old saying that all politics are local, and really it starts first with making sure that your own local municipality is governing in a just fashion. For churches, what I'm calling for is establish citizenship ministries, just like you have a missions committee. You ought to have a citizenship ministry that's got direct leadership. There ought to be an elder who's responsible for that citizenship committee, and there's just so much to learn.
Our guest has been Mark Burrell. He works in the corporate world now, but also moonlighted as an author, writing the book Rediscovering the American Covenant, looking at the Christian roots of the Declaration of Independence. I'm Greg Gillespie. Thanks for listening to this feature on Family Life.